Bonjour, mes amis. Je suis LADs. Yes, I'm back. I've been in France. I've been on holiday with my family. But I'm back. There's been a whole bunch of stuff going on. Chosen's got this cool interview with Death Knight. Would you believe it? And an in-game shout-out. Cool stuff. There's been summoning events. I've not been involved. The Hero's Path came back. Did it come back better? Apparently, Saphira from HH Gaming thinks yes. So that's pretty cool. But I've not been involved. It's only a 4-day thing. I literally just came back in last night. But we do have a new free login champion in the mix. And this video, we're going to go through that login champion and see what they're like. So the news popped here. We've got a new champion fragment, which is basically logging in after you get past that 270 odd days. But it's quite a way past. Yeah, we've got Cleopteryx, we've got Scion, we've got Gerda, and probably someone else as well in the mix. So by that point, we've been playing for a long while. Yeah, well over a year. Well over a year at this point. So we've got a new legendary Night Revs, HP-based champion, a magic affinity. Let's jump in and see what they're all about. Is it worth the wait? Is it one of those that when you log in on that 500 odd days or whatever it is, you're like, yes. So we've got Arix here. Kind of cool floating crown. I like it. Smoky old armpits. Needs a bath is probably my initial reaction. Needs a bath. Cool face though, actually. Kind of blood red eyes. A little bit Anakin from Star Wars for me. But yeah, what's going on? Good amount of HP, but not crazy. Bearing in mind, Arix is an HP-based champion. Okay speed, okay defense, all that stuff works. I think it's a guy. I think it's a guy. Deliberately, I haven't watched anyone else's videos on this stuff, by the way. I like to give my own view. So what's going on? A1 attacks all enemies. And attacks all enemies A1 is actually kind of rare. It's quite a rare thing to find. It's not bad. 25% books up to 35% chance of removing a buff. I'm guessing this is aimed at being a Hydra champion just by this A1. Because AoE remove buff is kind of quite a Hydra ability. Also, pretty good for waves of enemies. If you're in stuff like Faction Wars, removing one buff from a target can be pretty good if you get something like the Valk wave, throwing up their counterattacks. An A1 like this is actually pretty strong. Whether Arix hits hard or not doesn't really matter for this ability, but I mean, he's probably going to need to hit hard for him to be relevant at this kind of stage of the game. A2 then, AoE again. So 2 AoE skills, cool. 3-turn cooldown, books up to 75% chance to stun. Transfers a random debuff from him to a target that receives a stun. Okay. Honestly, when we're talking legendaries, I would like to see the book chance go up to 100% chance to stun. You know, we're talking about someone who is a legendary champion. We look at other legendary champions with a stun ability. We want to see 100% stun for them to be super relevant. But 2 AoEs now, you know, you start to think to yourself, decent in a control set, like a provoke or a stun set or a day set, because you've got lots of chances to land these skills. And then if we're talking about Hydra, well, actually, Hydra, the stun here is irrelevant. So the A1 doesn't really synergize with the A2 for Hydra. So maybe it's not a Hydra champ. And we've got an A3 here, a 3-turn bookable ally protection for your team, and a counterattack on Arix. And the counterattack is going to be counterattacking with an AoE. I mean, it's all okay. This kind of needs to hit really hard as an HP-based champion for this to be relevant. And then we've got here a passive. Fills this champion's turn meter by 5% each time an ally inflicts a crit. Each time an ally inflicts a crit, 5% more turn meter. Okay. Heals this champion by 5% of their max HP each time an enemy inflicts a crit. Okay. And that's a bit weird. It's a bit weird. Like, if you're thinking, is this PvP? Well, honestly, the first time you take a hit from a crit is probably the time where you die. Or there's nothing to heal yet. So that's a bit of a weird for PvP. And you don't really get crit a lot in PvE, because most of the enemies have got a 15% crit rate. It's very rare to take, you know, multiple crits. But still, it's an okay passive. The turn meter feels okay for Arena, but she doesn't bring really a lot else, or he doesn't bring a lot else for Arena. I don't know. It feels a little bit lackluster Let's have a look at multipliers. Okay, it's quite interesting. So Sir Nick here, who is known for being one of the best smacks for an AoE HP-based champion, yeah? So Sir Nick's got 22.8k base HP, and he's got a multiplier on his big A2 of a 0.25. Yeah, now HP-based champions generally scale poorly. Unless they've got some sort of reason that they do a second hit and it's conditional, they generally scale poorly. So Magnar is good because he's got a similar amount of damage, but he hits twice conditionally. Yeah, so 0.25 is about as good as it gets for a smack, unless they've got a conditional additional hit. Now this champion, Arix, has actually got a 0.35. It's very unusual to see, honestly. It's actually really unusual to see an HP-based champion with such a big hit that isn't a conditional smack. So, pretty solid, actually. Pretty solid A2. Albeit, I just feel like by the time you get Arix, it might just be a touch too late. Yeah, so pretty much the only place I would see that you'd use Arix is Faction Wars to try and help you beat Night Revs. And then maybe come into other teams as a kind of support-based or damage-based champion. The A1 doesn't hit that hard, but it doesn't hit too bad either, a bit less than a Sir Nick. It hits for an okay amount. But I feel like you're just going to end up throwing Arix in a stun set or a provoke set and be a kind of control champion for waves of enemies. By the time you get this champion, I don't think you use this champion. That's my gut feel. So, actually not a bad champion on paper. If you pulled Arix as like an early game champ, then I think actually pretty solid. But if I'm waiting to log in for well over a year and some, 18 months and a bit more, then the chances of me needing the Arix is, I'd say, quite unlikely. So I don't know, guys. Let me know down below. What do you think of this champion? Is it someone that you're going to be looking forward to when you pick them up? I mean, I log in regularly, right? I log in a lot. And I am still picking up fragments for Gerda, who is a useless champion in my opinion. And I feel like Arix, for most people, will just be a vault champion. That's my honest view. Like I say, if you pick up an Arix early from a shard, and I think Arix will fall into this kind of big group that you cannot pull from Sacreds, but you could pull from a ancient shard. So you might find an Arix early on in an ancient, but you won't pull Arix from a sacred. Yeah, so if you got him from an ancient, then maybe okay. Otherwise, I think it's just a bit dull, honestly, for a login champion. But that A2 will smack a bit. There you go, guys. I've been Hell Hades. That's Arix. Je suis back. I'll see you later.